Fab, thank you so much. Hi all, and thank you so much for joining today's Lunch and Learn session facilitated by Republic of Work and the lovely Sarah. So as she mentioned, my name is Clodagh. I'm really excited to speak with you today about the importance of well-being at work and why we should all be well-being warriors. So in the spirit of well-being, I do appreciate that this is your lunchtime. So I'm going to aim to wrap this up within the 30 minutes and let you have your time back. And if you've been at your desk all morning and haven't had the chance to move much, please feel free just to pop in your headphones and take me on a walk with you. So I'm going to start with an honest question. If I asked you on a scale of 1 to 5, how do you feel about work? 1 being that you despise it and 5 being that you love it. Where do you land on that scale? You can choose that number now in your mind. You can obviously feel free to share in the chat as well if you want to. And when you think about it, are you and your friends typically happy when you speak about work, or do you talk about how the energy is sucked from you, or you're overwhelmed, or maybe you want to kill your manager? And if you enjoy work, then that's amazing, because our jobs should be fun and somewhere that we love being, because we spend so much time there and it should be a positive experience. But unfortunately, that is just not the case for a lot of people. So I imagine that you might have 2 questions for me in return. First being, what is a well-being warrior? And the second, who is this person and why should we even be listening to her? So firstly, let me just shed a little bit more light on this topic, why we should all be well-being warriors. Warriors generally are associated with 2 kinds of courage: the ability to fight to protect themselves and others, and setting goals and developing the strength and skills to accomplish these goals. So remember this definition, but I'll be coming back to it throughout this session and all shall become clear. So I might need to take us back a little bit to tell you who I am and maybe why you should be listening to me, or my qualifications and background. In my early 20s, I started experiencing panic attacks. And the first time I had one, I really didn't know what it was. All I know is that I thought I was having a heart attack. And I don't know if anyone on this call has experienced panic attacks, but they're really scary and they can come on for no apparent reason. And this began my journey of education around well-being and practices that I could start to incorporate into my life to help me to de-stress and calm my mind and my nervous system. And it worked. I started meditating and practicing yoga as advised from my doctor. And then I traveled as well. And funnily enough, removing myself from my comfort zone resulted in the last of my panic attacks. So one issue was out of the way. Fast forward then, and in my late 20s, out of the blue, I was building a life for myself in sunny Sydney. And the next thing, this giant Arctic truck called life came and knocked me over, figuratively speaking. So a series of not so nice events happened, personal things. And all of a sudden, the world I was living in came crashing down around me. And I found myself in a tough place mentally. And I was hit by a major depressive disorder that lasted intensely for over a year and a half, within which time I kind of detached from the normal world and became quite isolated. And the best way that I can kind of describe it is that I just found myself in constant darkness. And unfortunately, statistics and research shows that 1 in 6 adults suffer from depression, which means the likelihood is some people on this call can fully relate to what I'm saying. And if anyone has suffered from or is suffering from depression, please do get professional help and support. If anyone needs any contacts or numbers for the right people to get in touch with, just let me know. I can share these with you as well. So while this was an extremely dark and difficult time, it was also hugely transformative. So I started to really educate myself on depression and some proven processes and remedies to help me that didn't involve medication. But full disclaimer, medication can be fantastic and it can be the answer for some people. But for me personally, it wasn't the path that I wanted to choose. And it was during this period that I really learned about the power of mindset and well-being. And I can honestly say it really was the life jacket that I needed to save me at that time. So this is the time where I needed to tap into my inner warrior. And coming back to that first definition, the ability to fight to protect themselves and others. So it was a long fight to turn things around. I focused on putting my mental health and well-being first. The kindness and understanding of others helped, but the biggest learning that came from it was the kindness and compassion that I had for myself. And I chose to stay in Sydney for another few years. And when I got on that plane to leave, I had a moment and I thought about everything that had happened. I was leaving Sydney after rebuilding a really great and fun life for myself. I had this new amazing group of friends and I had this great job that I had found, and they were relocating me to London. But I had this newfound happiness and confidence, and I did something really cringe. And I'll be completely honest, I sat on that plane and I gave myself this huge pat on the back. People sitting next to me probably thought I was really weird, but I'd looked out for myself. And It took time and perseverance and hard work. And I do think that's been one of the proudest moments in my life. I had found my inner warrior and I had fought to protect my own well-being and my happiness. So you can imagine my shock and horror. A few years later, I found that the opposite was true. After all the support and work that I had done on myself, imagine my alarm when it hit me that I was actually sabotaging myself and my happiness. COVID hit in 2019. I think we'll all never forget this. We were locked in our house. We were all working remotely, little bobbing heads floating around on Zoom, and I was going slightly insane. So I knew I needed to do something about it. And I decided to embark on another journey. And I became a certified health and wellness coach. And a lot of what I learned from that experience is the foundation of my business and how I interact with myself and others. Throughout this time, there was lots of internal explorations on this course, which included like happiness indexes and questionnaires about your happiness and your mindset and life. And there was this one question that I kept coming across that really stumped me. Do you feel like you're fulfilling your purpose in life? And at the time, I had this really great corporate job as a director at a really cool ad tech company, which I love. And while I enjoyed it, as soon as I was asked that question, my heart kind of sunk because I knew it wasn't my purpose in life to support advertisers with their marketing campaigns. And it got me thinking. And then I got really angry and sad. And I just thought about all the years in Australia that had been so tough. They represented a time where I'd been knocked down, but I had picked myself up and dusted myself off. However, here I was just allowing myself to settle with my working life, a place where I was spending majority of my time. And at that moment, I realized a change needed to happen. And I needed to step out of the world that I was coasting along in and look at fulfilling my passion by doing something that was really meaningful to me. And that's when my business CRAOI was born. And it didn't happen overnight. I continued to work my full-time role for 18 months. And I was also doing CRAOI at weekends and during the evenings. But I shifted my mindset and how I interacted with others at work. I started to identify my skills and I started to use them more. And I started making core changes to the work that I was doing to make sure that it was aligning more to my purpose and to my values. And so as I kind of kept working on this, I also started utilizing my knowledge and skill sets that I'd built up from my experience in the corporate world. And with my passion and expertise across wellness, CRAOI was created. It's a workplace wellness solution with the mission of helping individuals and employees around the world prioritize their well-being so that they can thrive and be happy at work and beyond. So just a side note, this photo was taken while I was at a recent brunch in Dubai. I actually just threw it up here around an hour ago. I had this really formal corporate photo here. And then I just remembered it just genuinely doesn't represent who I am at all. So I changed it because I love traveling, I love brunches with friends and just having fun. And I just really wanted to share my authentic self here with everyone today. So I'm using my personal story and experience to share an example of that first definition of a warrior, fighting to protect my well-being and the well-being of others. And we need to fight against so many external barriers every day to create space that allows us to prioritize our well-being. And I think we owe it to ourselves to learn how to say no and to introduce those boundaries that we need so that we can thrive at work and beyond. When people hear the term workplace well-being, they often think about activities that support this, like moving and yoga, taking breaks, meditating. All of these amazing tools are absolutely key practices that can boost your well-being, and they really support you in the long run. We offer these tools throughout the CRAOI platform, but there is a lot more to your well-being at work. It runs deeper than tools and practices. It's about the core of who you are and ensuring that the time you spend in work supports your whole self and that the work that you do aligns with your values, your purpose, and your identity. Your workplace should be a supportive community, a place where you feel part of a tribe, because as humans, that's what we seek to do. And it needs to be an environment that nurtures your soul, supports your learning, and allows you to fail and look at failure as opportunities for growth. That's the ideal scenario. I've only come across a very few people to date who would describe work as being that aligned to them and their happiness. But we owe it to ourselves to strive to find this place. And there are key steps we can take to make improvements, little stepping stones that will help us to improve our working situations and then improve our well-being at work. So workplace-related stress, it's not new, but it is at an all-time high. And research shows that 7 out of 10 employees are currently suffering from stress and burnout. And 4 out of 6 are actually considering quitting their role for a job that better supports their well-being. And if you're a business owner or HR professional or people manager, these numbers should scare you. And now is really the time to take action if you aren't already. Digging a little bit deeper, this year, Deloitte and Insider Intelligence conducted key market research with employees and C-level executives globally, and the findings are pretty shocking. Throughout the study, they found that most workers expect their organization to challenge societal norms and support their holistic health. 70% of employees believe employers are just not doing enough to prevent or alleviate burnout. And we're entering the quiet quitting pandemic right now, and that's what we're experiencing. They feel they're not able to take the time off to disconnect. And the majority say that improving their well-being is more important this year than advancing in their career. And less than 6 out of 10 employees say that the company embeds well-being into the workplace culture and people's jobs. So we see a lot of companies claiming to support well-being by offering classes or passes or lunches, and these are really great initiatives. However, in a lot of cases, these are more of a one-size-fits-all solution. And as humans, we're definitely not all the same. We have different needs and interests. And so it's important and evident from this data that employees need and expect solutions that are much more personalized to their needs, embedded in the company KPIs, and also supported from the top down. This last piece, I couldn't agree with more. 77% of C-suite believe companies should be required to publicly report their workforce well-being metrics. Companies report on profit and revenue all of the time, but how do they actually get to these results? It's through the people that are working with them and for them. And therefore, the number one metric to report on should be the well-being of the people behind each success. And for everyone on this call, no matter your role, I would be urging you to bring this to your next meeting and request for these metrics to become part of your monthly updates. And if you're self-employed with one or more teammates, you could look to introduce core well-being metrics that you survey them on and report on regularly. Because when it comes to future hires for your business, being able to speak to the well-being strategies and KPIs integrated within it will certainly help you stand out from the crowd. So on average, a bit of shocking news, but we spend 70,000 hours at work in our lifetime. But for so many people, this time is not filled with happiness, joy, or engagement. And we all have friends who despise work. And as we've identified at the very start of this session, we might in fact be those people ourselves. So what can we do about it? You know, we can't magically get a better manager overnight. We can't change our volume of work easily if that's the issue. It's not just as simple as saying, yeah, I don't love work, and then you just watch your ideal role come fall on your lap. The reality is that for nearly all of us, we're in a job that we hope to be in for quite some time because we've built a community there and we've proven our worth and we've built on our skill set to get us to where we are. So if you're someone who is ready to make the leap or has made the leap and has your own company and you're working for yourself, there's still some really valuable lessons that you can learn throughout this session that will make sure wherever you land next or the business that you're creating now aligns with your values, passions, and purpose so that you can really enjoy the work that you do. For the majority who are in a job right now that is potentially not completely fulfilling your wildest wishes and dreams, my advice is, as employees, it's time to take back some control and ownership about how you feel about work and how you experience work. So we need to become well-being warriors in the workplace for ourselves, but also for others that are part of our working community. We need to stand up and start making the time and space to prioritize our own well-being. And we need to find the courage to bring this conversation to the table, making it an open and honest discussion point that is brought up regularly in our one-to-ones and team meetings. So moving on to this second definition of a warrior, setting goals and developing the strength and skills to accomplish them. I'm going to get you all to set a few goals now in this next section. So if you do have a pen and paper, please grab it. But if not, you can absolutely do this with the power of your mind. Full disclaimer, I would normally offer deep dive workshops on each of these topics to really get to the core of them. But given our time today, these would be more introductory points. If you want to learn more about anything that I speak about, just reach out to me directly. So if I asked you a question when you were younger, and if you visualize your younger self right now, and you were asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? What was your answer? It would be great, you know, you can think about this mentally, maybe write it down, whichever you prefer. So I'll share mine. I wanted to be a singer. If I'm completely honest with you, I guess that's still a dream that I would have, to work with music, produce it, create it, sing it. It's just my favorite thing to do in the world. And when I sit down to learn a new song or write music, the world honestly slips away. I found myself sitting for hours and hours on end, realizing at around 12 o'clock at night that I'd literally been there the whole evening and enjoying every single second of it. So that is my flow state. But the parts of music and singing that I love include the creativity it brings to create something new and to tweak it and make a difference and tap into people's emotions. And these are transferable skills. And it was a game changer when I dug a little bit deeper into this to identify my drivers for success. And then once I identified them and wrote them out, I started thinking about how I could tie these in with everyday work that I do. So I started weaving them into my corporate role. And then that led me to realize how much I love to create new things with unlimited freedom. And that brought me to leaving my corporate role and starting my own business. That and the fact that my other biggest passion in life is tied to well-being and helping others and just looking at the world through that different lens to fill it with people and empathy and connection and community. So I'm not saying to go quit your job tomorrow and go chase your dreams, but if you feel brave enough to do that, hats off to you. And if you ever want to talk about that topic, it's a whole different topic, do reach out to me. And I do have to just do a really quick plug here for Republic of Work, because they are so supportive and they're actually an amazing resource and community for startups and founders. So you can get in touch with Sarah if you have any questions about that. But I do want you to think about what makes your heart sing. It's never too late to tap into this. You can just take a few of these examples. Vera Wang, who designed her first dress at 40, or Samuel L. Jackson, who landed his first major role at 46, or Morgan Freeman, who got his first big break at 50. These are inspiring examples of how there's no such thing as too late to find your purpose and chase your dreams. In fact, you actually owe it to yourself to dig deep and identify what it is that drives you and motivates you to get up in the morning, what fills you with pride and purpose, what key skill sets and untapped talents do you have that you might not yet be using. I would spend some time and write it down, and there's real power in words, and bring yourself back to your younger self, trying to remember what your dreams were before you started to care about what other people think, or you started getting weighed down with responsibility, because we all got a lot of responsibility as adults. So no matter what role you are in now, I guarantee that you can bring elements of your purpose and drive into the work that you do. So we all have different reasons for getting out of bed in the morning. The trick is to figure out and identify what truly drives you. And the question I'm going to ask you now, that I want you to write down and answer in your notebook or mentally if you're on the move, what am I truly passionate about? And once you get clearer on this, your goal then is to identify how can you start to weave this passion into your day-to-day work. Just choose one key way and identify how you can start leaning into it. So I'll give you an example. If your passion is helping others, you could look at introducing mentoring to the workplace, start offering to mentor other junior members. If you're self-employed, you could look at creating a supportive community where you and other founders swap skill sets and experience. And if you're an entrepreneur, I really recommend that you would write down your passions on a Post-it note and stick it in front of you, and don't let yourself or your passions become secondary to the business and the million and one other things that you need to also focus on. This exercise is really valuable because finding purpose and meaning in the work that we do has actually been proven to help us feel more confident, more productive, and more engaged. So I'm going to move on to the next topic, the 3 C's: communication, connection, and community. If we feel that we're not being heard or respected, then we feel extremely undervalued at work. It's an identity threat, and we often respond by shutting off. If we don't feel like we belong or we're not important, then our reaction is to stop caring as a protective mechanism. We stop caring about our jobs, our companies, or the people that we work with. So I've spoken with hundreds of employees and managers, and I'm yet to come across any that genuinely and sincerely ask their people how they are on a consistent basis, to check in on their well-being and open up on an honest method of communication where we bring humanity and empathy into the workplace. And that's a two-way street. So you need to treat others as you would also like to be treated. When was the last time you actually asked your manager or your leader or your mentor about how they're doing, or asked them a personal question to get to know them as a person better? Because at the end of the day, we're all human, and that's something we can and should be connecting with. So when we bring our life experiences to work, we have so much more to offer because we're more than the sum of our resumes. So try this. Next time you're in an office or a team meeting, ask a personal question to the people you're speaking to and share an honest insight into how you're actually doing and feeling at that time as well, so that you can lead by example. Because connecting with others at work, it's so important and impactful. I actually came across this research the other day, I think it was on Instagram, which shows a graph on time spent with co-workers. As you can see, it's pretty steady during the prime working years from the age of 20 to 60, which is so much of our lives. And the lessons taken from this research is, 1, you will spend a lot of time at work. And 2, who you choose to work with is one of the most important decisions you'll make. You need to find work and co-workers that create energy in your life and connection and support. In fact, according to the 2021 Workplace Friendship and Happiness Survey by Wild Goose, 57% of people say having a best friend in the workplace makes work more enjoyable, and over 20% feel more productive and more creative with friends. When we have friends at work, we're less likely to experience workplace burnout, and we're less likely to look elsewhere for a job. And when we share friendship and spread happiness and kindness, the magic happens. So my happiness and your happiness are actually intertwined, and we can augment each other's feelings and happiness. Creating and sharing happiness creates team mentality and boosts morale, and both givers and receivers benefit from this. So to increase your happiness, you need to give it away and share it. So this is the next goal. Performing acts of kindness at work can have fantastic ripple effects on your company and boost overall morale and happiness. And a study by the University of California at Coca-Cola's Madrid site found that both the givers and receivers of kindness in the workplace enjoyed positive benefits. Those who performed the acts of kindness felt happier with increased job and life satisfaction, and those who received kindness were extremely likely to pay it forward, creating a ripple of kindness through the company. So knowing the positive effects that these acts of kindness can have on you and others, my goal for you is to give it a shot and see how you feel. So to help you get started, there's a few examples of acts of kindness that you can form on the screen. For extra bonus points and increased scientific benefits, try to perform 5 in one day. If you're in a position of implementing this into your workplace or your business, why not bring in random acts of kindness Fridays, where you could encourage your employees and colleagues to support with the random acts of kindness and to connect and spread that happiness. Because when companies support these kind and thoughtful initiatives, it can help to create a wider sense of purpose and enhanced job satisfaction for employees. So the next piece I'm going to speak to you on is the untapped power of stress. So there's this really great TED Talk. I would encourage you all to watch it. It's by Kelly McGonigal, a health psychologist and lecturer at Stanford University. And in this, she speaks about the untapped power of stress. I would take note of this, and I would definitely watch it if I were you, if you have a free 15 minutes anytime. So she speaks about groundbreaking research, which suggests that stress may only be bad for you if you believe that to be the case. So she urges us to see stress as a positive and introduces us to unsung mechanism for stress reduction, which is reaching out to others. So to summarize what she's teaching in this talk, typically we view stress as harmful and negative, right? But research was conducted that identified if you view stress as helpful, you counteract the negative impacts that stress can cause. When we're stressed, typically our heart rate goes up and our blood vessels contract. However, in this study conducted, when the people viewed it as helpful, their blood vessels stayed relaxed. And it's the same as what happens in the moments of joy and courage. So how you think about stress matters, and science shows it. So try to learn how to deal with stress in a healthier way, because no matter what job we have or what role we play, we are going to encounter stress. It's part of our everyday lives. A full disclaimer, we're talking about everyday stresses and not extreme cases of stresses here. But if we can look at shifting our mindset and think about how stress can actually help you to rise to the challenge that it is causing the stress reaction, your body is then going to believe you and your stress response will become healthier. Stress actually makes you social or urges you to be social. You might have heard of the oxytocin hormone. It's actually released when you hug someone, so it's nicknamed the cuddle hormone. And it's a neural hormone that primes you to do things that strengthen close relationships. It makes you crave physical contact. It enhances empathy, and it makes you want to help those you care about. So it really drives compassion and care. And oxytocin is also a stress hormone, and your pituitary gland pumps it out as part of your stress response. When released, it is actually motivating you to seek support, nudging you to tell someone how you feel rather than bottling it up. So your stress response wants you to be surrounded by people who care about you. It acts on your brain, but also your body, because it protects your cardiovascular system from stress, and it's an anti-inflammatory. Your heart has receptors for this hormone, and it helps your heart to heal from any stress-induced damage. This stress hormone strengthens your heart. And when you reach out to others under stress to seek support or to help, you release more of this hormone, and it helps you to become more resilient to stress. So caring for others and connecting with others creates resilience. And how you think and act can transform your experience of stress. And when you choose to view stress response as helpful, you're actually creating the biology of courage. And when you choose to connect with others under stress, you're creating resilience. So when we're stretched to our limits at work, trying to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile, we're often under pressure and feeling stressed because we're out of our comfort zones. But these are the times where we are learning and where we are growing. So as Mihaly, the world-renowned psychologist, puts it, the best moments in our lives are not the passive, receptive, relaxing times. The best moments usually occur if a person's body or mind is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. So my third goal is to tap into the power of your stress hormone and try shifting your mindset to viewing your stress response as helpful. Hopefully right now in this session, you aren't feeling stressed. So this is more of a future goal for you to complete. And I would encourage you to take note of it and try it out the next time that you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed at work. I believe that this untapped power of stress should be taught to employees and managers in the workplace worldwide. It's a vital tool that business owners and founders of companies can also tap into. As a business owner myself, it's like a never-ending roller coaster ride. Every day is bringing new things to tackle, and that causes stress. But if we reframe how we're viewing stress, in turn, we can tap into the support, we can tap into support us and our health as well. So recapping here, we've talked about 3 key topics that are at the core of our well-being at work, and we've set 3 corresponding goals for you to action. The first is finding passion and purpose in what you do. The second is the 3 C's, connection, community, and communication. And the third is the untapped power of stress. I'm going to share this slide with all of the attendees so that you have it to hand. And please feel free to set some of these goals and challenges with your teams and co-founders going forward. Most of us believe if we work harder, we're going to be more successful. And then if we're more successful, we're going to be happier. But every time we have a success, we move the goalpost further along. So we need to focus on raising positivity in the workplace for a happiness advantage, individually and as a business, to perform better. Because when our people are happy, every single business outcome improves. We're all better at sales, we're more creative, we're more successful. So look at becoming more positive in the present to reach higher successes. So prioritize your well-being and seek to do work that aligns with your passion and purpose. Look at creating meaningful connections and a supportive community in your workplace, and treat new challenges and stressful situations as opportunities to accomplish something difficult and learn something new. The reason I chose those 3 topics to touch on today is that research shows 75% of job successes are predicted by optimism levels, social support, and the ability to see stress as a challenge instead of as a threat. So just coming back to that definition one last time: fight to protect your well-being every day and to support others in your working community. Set goals and use your strengths and skills to accomplish these goals. And this is what it means to be a well-being warrior. When we prioritize our well-being at work, it is a game changer. So I'm just going to wrap it up with this quote from Mel Robbins that I love. No one knows what it's like to be in your shoes but you. That's why you must practice being kind to yourself and giving yourself the love, support, and celebration that you need. So thank you so much for joining today. I know there was a lot covered in a short time, and thank you so much for listening. It's great to see you take time to learn more about how to support your well-being at work at Beyond. I just want to finish by saying I'm on a bit of a mission through my company to redesigning well-being in the workplace and to support individuals like yourself by educating and empowering you to prioritize your own well-being. So I'd love for you to join me on this journey. If you'd like to learn more about CRAOI and our offering, please contact me through the form on our website or just email directly at hello@craoi.com. And please join our community on LinkedIn and Instagram. You can sign up for our monthly newsletter as well. It's filled with well-being at work tips and advice. And I would say together we can prioritize our well-being so that we can thrive at work and beyond. So thanks for your time. Thanks for listening. And thanks, Sarah, so much and Republic of Work for facilitating this. I'll stay on for a few more minutes if anyone wants to connect or ask any questions. But I hope you all found the session useful and enjoy the rest of your lunch break and your week ahead.
Thanks a million, Clodagh. That was great. I'm sure everyone took something from that. I'm just going to share a quick survey there, guys, if you wouldn't mind filling it out. It's just to help us improve our Lunch and Learns week on week. So the link's in the chat box. If anyone would like to fill it out, you're in with the chance of winning a free day pass in Republic of Work. So you can come and see what the hype is about. But thanks again to Clodagh for today. It was a really great session. And just a reminder that this Lunch and Learn will be available on YouTube in the coming days as well, if anyone would like to recap on what Clodagh has covered.